Hey guys, Akil Stokes here. Welcome back to another episode of the Trading Coach Podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about GameStop and we're going to be talking about stock splits. But before we get into that, if you haven't done so already, make sure you check out our website, www.tier1trading.com, if you're interested in learning more about how to be a trader. I recommend taking the 14-day trial. That's 2 weeks. That gives you access to the platform, some training courses, some live sessions, and of course, the greatest community of traders out there in the world, www.tier1trading.com. Now, if you've been paying attention to the news, GameStop is back in it. GameStop was, well, it has been in the news. It's been kind of the meme of stocks lately with the whole Reddit stuff going on and the wild swings that has been happening with it. But it's back in the news today for a few reasons. One reason, there was the announcement of a stock split, and we'll get into that in a little bit. And then just recently, I haven't read up on all of it yet, but I believe they just fired their CFO and they announced a whole bunch of more layoffs as part of their aggressive turnaround plan. And what GameStop's aggressive turnaround plan is basically going from brick and mortar to e-commerce, as that's the way that the video gaming realm has gone in. And if you're not familiar, GameStop is kind of your old school brick and mortar store that sells video games. I used to spend lots of time spending my hard-earned money in there buying and playing and testing out video games. And the video game world has gone more to downloadable content, which leaves kind of the brick and mortar kind of in the past. So they've got to make some changes. They've got to make some adaptations if they want to stay alive. And a lot of it is kind of making that transition. And whenever you make a transition, a few things need to happen. You need to hire some new people that know what direction to take the company in. You need to fire some old people that maybe are not needed anymore. It sounds bad, but that's just the way business is, right? Adapt or die. But I wanted to talk about the stock split because it came to mind recently. I was doing this presentation to a group, and in that presentation, I was telling them a little bit about my journey and how I got started. And that, I got started investing really because I graduated from college. I had some money because I'm cheap and never spend anything. And my dad said that getting exposure to the financial markets was kind of the next step in my investment path, right? I started with savings accounts, then I had, money market accounts, then certificates of deposits, and I had some bonds, right? I did all these little things. It was time to kind of take it to the next level. And when I went on my venture of kind of learning about the stock market, I was always taught by my dad and eventually my trading mentor as well, or my investment mentor, use common sense, right? Don't go outside of your realm. Invest in things that you know, right? If I'm not big on like biotech stocks, don't go into biotech stocks. So the first stock that I bought was Apple, right? Makes for a good story because everyone's familiar with what Apple is as well. And it happened to be a very good play. And I was telling this group, I said, hey, I got an Apple at like $90 a share. Woo! And I was all excited. And then there's some guy in the back looking at his phone. He's like, $90 a share? Like, what's the big deal? It's like it's been a million years later and it's only at 140 right now. And I'm like, well, yes and no, it's at 140 right now. But realize like Apple split its stock like I think 5 times since I purchased it. So that price is not a real price. The price would actually be a lot more, the valuation would be a lot more than that. And we got into the conversation about stock splits and how it works. And I said, hey, this would be a perfect episode for the Trading Coach Podcast because we try to present this podcast, me and my clone, right? We try to present this podcast to all types of traders and investors. We have the experienced ones that love hearing my journey and love learning new tips about what's going on and what I'm up to. We have newer traders that are here to learn new concepts and really get an idea of what it takes to be a consistently profitable trader or investor, maybe before dipping their toe into the water. And I'm going to make this in the dumbest way possible with a stock split. But a stock split is essentially when a stock decides to split its cost, right? So if you have a stock that is worth $100 and they do a stock split, that stock may now be worth $50. Now, they're not just cutting the cost, but they're increasing the amount of available shares while decreasing that cost. I think I might have said increasing before, decreasing that cost, right? So they're decreasing the cost, but they're increasing the amount of available shares. So for example, if I was a investor in GameStop, and GameStop was worth $100, and they did like a 2-for-1 split, and they reduced their price to $50 a share. Instead of now owning 20 shares, I would own 40 shares, right? So my shares doubled, right? But my overall price that I have, exposure that I have to that market is exactly the same. Think about it like this as well. Let's say we had a piece of cake in front of you, right? And I split the cake into quarters, right? I had 4 equal segments of that cake. I gave you a segment of the cake. So you have exactly 1/4 of that cake. Now, what if I take your quarter of the cake and split that in half, right? Now you have 2 different pieces. So you have 2 different pieces, which makes it technically seem like you have more. You have 2 pieces of cake instead of 1 piece of cake, but you have the same total amount of cake. You still have a quarter of the cake that is there. So that's what happens when companies split stocks. And they do it in different ways. They do 2-for-1, 3-for-1. I think GameStop is doing a 4-for-1. I'm not too sure. I gotta research that some more. But they're basically splitting up the stock price so that the value looks more appealing, right? At the time of recording this, I think GameStop is trading at about 140. And I want you to think about it like this. 140 isn't the most expensive price out there. There's a lot of stocks that are way more expensive than that, but 140 also isn't a cheap stock, right? When I bought Apple for $90, right, I didn't come in with a lot of money into the investment game. So I spent almost everything I had on Apple, and I was only able to buy 10 shares, right? So imagine someone coming in with only a couple $1,000s, right? Are you going to buy 5, 6, 7 shares of GameStop and that's it? Or would you rather find a cheaper stock, something that is $20 a share or something like that, and buy more of that? Many newer investors are going to go for the cheaper price because it's very hard to put all your eggs into one basket. It's also hard to really get a meaningful difference when you have 1 or 2 shares of something. So when you split your stock price, you're lowering your cost. Now, what does lowering your costs do? Well, this goes back to basically the thing that runs the world, right? Basic economics. This goes back to supply and demand. This goes back to understanding those relationships that we always talk about. This goes back to what we're dealing right now across the world with the massive amount of inflation that's going on everywhere, right? How does the price of something affect your actions? And we can go back to the supermarket reference because I think that is something that everyone can relate to, right? When you see something in the supermarket that isn't a need, right? There are some things you need. If you have kids, you need diapers, you need wipes, right? No matter how much they cost, you got to buy them because trust me, you don't want to go around life without diapers and wipes for the kids. But stuff like that's not a necessity. Stuff like let's say like candy, for example, right? Let's say you are willing to buy candy at a certain price, but as soon as that price gets high enough, right, you're no longer willing to buy it, right? So if a company is struggling, because GameStop is struggling in a sense, and they are trying to create this turnaround, if they're creating this turnaround, they need help, they need appeal, they need people to kind of go towards GameStop and rally. They need that interest. What is a very easy way to get interest in a company? One that's already known for these wild and crazy swings, right? Well, an easy way is to have a cheap stock price because people will look at GameStop, understand that most investors are not really aware of what anything is going on, right? So they're probably not even aware that the stock split. Like just like the guy I talked to with Apple, he had no idea Apple split 5 times since 2009 or whatever like that, right? People are going to look at GameStop and they're going to say, man, a year ago this was 135. Now it's whatever it is. Again, I don't know what the split is, but let's say it's under $50 a share. This is a bargain. Let me invest, let me invest, let me invest, right? And then you get more people investing, you get more buyers in the market. That's going to push that share price up. All of a sudden, bada boom, bada bing, right? They're in business. At least that's the plan. Again, splitting your stock price, in theory, that's what it's supposed to do. It doesn't always do like that. There have been a handful of companies where, their results have been worse after splitting their stock. So it's not a given that it will succeed, but I do think that's the idea. Based on what they're doing, based on this new transformation, based on this fresh start that they are trying to orchestrate, why not have a fresh start with an appealing stock price as well, where people are seeing a discount even though they're not necessarily getting a discount? So I hope that explains what a stock split is. I hope that explains a little bit about what's happening with GameStop. I bring it up because it's been in the news lately and I'm getting a lot of questions from the people that usually ask me questions. So if it's a hot topic, I want to share it with you guys as well. If you ever have a topic that you want me to discuss, just let me know. You guys know I'm all over social media at Akil Stokes RTM. Watch for the scammers and the frauds out there. Trading Coach Podcast is also available on my YouTube channel, so you can always leave a comment below or a question below if you want to ask me anything there. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed, and until next time, plan your trade, trade your plan. Take care. Hey guys, at the very end, mention my YouTube channel. It is youtube.com/Akil Stokes. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit that notification bell as well. We have a lot of content that goes over there on a weekly basis. We got the Trading Coach Podcast. We got the Weekend Trading Edge, and we've got live streams from my New York Live Trading Room 3 times a week. So youtube.com/Akil Stokes, or just throw in Akil Stokes in the search deal. Find it, subscribe, hit the bell. That way you don't miss what's next.